Now at 9, Granby Mining Town days are in full swing. We'll take you to some of the events. Plus, a recycling plant is caught on fire. We'll have all the details. And
a small town hopes to bring its community together with its first Makers Market. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
An update on a fatal hit and run that occurred around 7 p.m. last night near Loma Linda. This is KOAM News at 9. I'm Anthony Saviello. Missouri Highway Patrol issues a BOLO or be on the lookout for a Dodge Dakota pickup truck last night. Tips from the public allowed authorities to locate said pickup, and the driver was taken into custody. The truck was seized as evidence. This is exclusive footage of the authorities seizing that truck. The woman the driver struck, has been identified as Sheldona Wood. She has passed. She was 60 years old. First responders spending their Saturday morning containing a fire at Missouri Metal Recycling. Webb City Fire, Police, and EMS all responding this morning, with both the Duneweg and the Carl Junction Fire Departments responding as mutual aid. Reports say that heavy black smoke was visible from all over town. The fire has been reported as contained. Reports of a crash just after 5 a.m. in Reddings Mill coming into Newton County first responders. The vehicle has rolled over and was leaning against a utility pole. First responders say they had to cut the top of the car off to rescue the driver. State troopers tell us the female driver was transported to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. We're going to go over to meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney for a first look at weather.
Well, we had a pretty great day today. Temperatures got up to low 90s. We are starting to dip down into the lower 80s and even some areas in the upper 70s. 78 in Pittsburgh, 77 in Nevada, 82 out in Joplin, 83 in Miami. So it's a pretty cool night ahead. We're dropping down to low 70s or upper 60s for our low tonight. We also have a light breeze, 5-10 miles per hour out of the southwest. As we move into tomorrow, we do have some storms that are moving into the area tomorrow afternoon. That's going to shift the winds from the southwest to the northeast. Now, cold front moved through towards Wichita, but it does retreat, and that's where we're going to see those storms tomorrow, not tonight. We've got a very low risk tomorrow for our southwestern counties and even lower risk on Monday as well, but we'll talk more about that in just a bit.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. July is here and hot temperatures may lead to hot tempers as well. We know the heat can affect us physically, but Joe Hickman reports how it can affect us mentally.
As temperatures increase, your ability to think properly is greatly diminished. We tend to see more anger issues, more aggression, because it is a major stressor on the body.
Yes, many studies have shown that hotter temps can lead to hot tempers for all of us, because being in the heat affects our body chemistry.
You've got that target range where that temperature kind of keeps your body's metabolism and all of its internal chemistry working appropriately and where it needs to be.
Researchers first discovered the link between heat and aggression by looking at crime data.
There's more murders, assaults, domestic violence on hot days.
Once that hotter weather arrives in the area, our call volume jumps 10 to 15, sometimes as much as 20%.
More likely to engage in hate speech online, road rage, honking your horns in traffic.
During these hotter times, there are definitely more outdoor activities. People are crossing paths with each other. That hotter weather definitely produces more work for us.
It makes sense that being uncomfortable makes us more irritable. And that's actually one of the brain's coping mechanisms, as the resources it's devoting to keeping you cool leaves less energy for everything else. And the seriousness of the problem can depend on things like medications or
age can be a factor for this in terms of your tolerances and how well you can thermoregulate. And if you have an underlying mental health concern, such as depression or anxiety, PTSD, this can absolutely exacerbate that, make those issues a lot worse.
So like these elephants, the best thing you can do to avoid getting grumpy is stay cool. And if you do find your anger level starting to rise,
take a step back, take a deep breath, take 4 of them if you'd like, and be patient and understanding. The world would be a better place if we all did that.
Local farmers markets are a popular place in the summer for community members to come together and shop locally, supporting each other's businesses. KOAM Samantha Walker has more on how one small town is working to support a local's makers market.
With a population of around 2,100 people, Cherryville, Kansas is by most definitions a small town. But although it may be small, its community is close.
We know everything about everybody. I like a rural community.
In a small gravel church parking lot, the community is coming together, hosting its first Cherryville Makers Market. Its organizer, Elena McPherson, came up with the idea when one of her small businesses hit a block.
We wanted to do a you-pick flower patch, but it kind of just didn't work out this year, and I grew a lot of flowers. So I started going to the Independence Farmers Market, and I figured why not bring it to my own town.
Elena reached out to other locals to see if they would be interested in joining her for a community market, where there are no fees and you can simply set up a table.
We have 7 vendors, and I know that probably doesn't seem like a lot, but for a town this size, I think it's pretty good for the first time.
Booths have a range of goods, including jewelry, flowers, and produce, fresh lemonade, and baked goods.
Give her the money and I'll take a picture with you. Thank you.
Community members were excited to support the market, coming out with their children and even pets.
It's awesome. Someone once said if you build it, they will come, and I definitely see that in all the activities that I try to get going here.
For vendors at the market, they say it's meaningful to see community members come out to support each other like this.
It's very heartwarming to see that it's stepping back up to where it was when I was a kid. I got involved more in the community because I wanted it to be a better place for my daughter. When I grew up, this was my favorite place to be, so I wanted to invest as much time as I could into this town. So it's very heartwarming to see people invest as well.
With support from the community, several vendors sold out at the Makers Market. For those involved, it's a sign of the potential the small market has.
I think this is a great idea. I think anything that brings people together is amazing. We try to do little small events and eventually they become big, so I think this will be another big one for our town.
Reporting in Cherryville, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Today was the first Makers Market, and after seeing the community's response, organizers say they hope to make it a monthly event. Later, how residents in Cape Fear are recovering from strong storms earlier this week. Americans' paychecks growth is crawling along, gaining at its slowest rate in 2 years. U.S. workers made an average $35 per hour in June. That's 10 cents more than May, but earnings still rose at a rate of almost 1% less than this time last year. Wages saw a boost as the economy bounced back from the COVID-19 pandemic because employers were desperate for workers. But today's weaker job market could mean that stagnant growth could be due to fewer available job opportunities. However, today's wage growth is still surpassing pre-pandemic levels. Workers at 2 Atlanta area Starbucks locations are taking a step towards unionizing. A number of employees at the shops have asked the National Labor Relations Board to schedule a vote to unionize. They want to be like workers at 460 stores who have organized since 2021. The Atlanta area workers want to join Starbucks Workers United. A barista representative said the move is a way to ensure they can receive better treatment. A Starbucks spokesperson said the company wants a, quote, bridge to a better future for employees. The vote petition comes after last month's Supreme Court ruling, which sided with Starbucks. The ruling will make it harder for the NLRB to win court orders in labor disputes. U.S. job growth cooled as expected last month, but the labor market remained strong. That's according to new data released Friday by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. 206,000 new jobs were added in June. That's down from 215,000 the month before. The unemployment rate inched up from 4% to 4.1%. That marks the first time since November that the jobless rate was above 4%. The largest chunk of jobs added in June were in the public sector, specifically in local government, followed by the health care industry. Lindsay is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later we'll take a sneak peek at one of the world's biggest music groups' new album.
Well, it's still 4th of July weekend, and it is shaping up to be a really great weekend. Unfortunately, we do have some storms tomorrow, but that's going to hold off. Taking a look earlier, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, we had a nice shot of the sun right in between the buildings. It looks really great out there earlier today. We also had nice, calm, dry temperatures today as well, dry conditions. We did have a cold front starting to move towards Wichita, Kansas City, but it did retreat before it moved into our area. So we're having a mostly clear night tonight. Temperatures do get down to about 70 for our low, and in some areas upper 60s. So it's going to be cooler than what we've seen the last few weeks. We did have a cold front that moved through on the 4th of July, dropping our temperatures yesterday down to mid 80s. Today we got up to low 90s and upper 80s in some areas, but our low yesterday also got up to mid to lower 60s. So it was a pretty cool night then too. That's going to continue as we see another cold front move in tomorrow, which we're looking forward to because we are starting to see these drought conditions creep back into the southern counties. We've got a moderate drought risk, Joplin, Monette, and just in between those cities as well. The rest of us in those southern counties, more dry, still not what we want to see, but with all of the overly warm temperatures and little to no rainfall that we've seen this summer, it was inevitable to start to dip back into those drought conditions. Now, luckily, we do have some evening showers and thunderstorms moving in tomorrow. That's a cold front, so it's going to drop those temperatures down again. Now, the storms start to move in earlier in the day, earlier in the afternoon. Temperatures are really only going to get up to upper to mid 80s. Now, if the storms hold off until a little bit later in the afternoon, we may reach 90, 91, but it's still not going to be too hot tomorrow. It's going to be overall pretty nice morning. Then we start to see those evening showers and afternoon showers, evening thunderstorms. Winds shift from the southwest, then out coming in from the northeast after the cold front passes. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the future track. We see the cold front retreats, and then we move into early Sunday morning. We could see a few showers creeping into our western counties, Parsons, Yates Center by 10:30, but it may hold off. Then in Joplin, Pittsburgh, about 2:30, that's when we're really going to start to see the heavier rainfall and those thunderstorm chances start to kick back up. Then we move into the evening time. It's really going to be scattered thunderstorms across most of our counties. We're really not looking at a severe threat, but we still will see some scattered widespread showers and thunderstorms throughout the overnight hours on Sunday into early Monday morning. Those will clear out. We've got a pretty low temperature on Monday morning, 61 for our low, and then we have a little bit of a break before more rain showers start to push back in on Monday. So we've got that cold front moving through Sunday night and possibly some more scattered thunderstorms on Monday, dropping temperatures down to 85 Monday, 83 on Tuesday, and then we go to 89 on Wednesday, and then we start to warm up for the weekend, getting into the upper 90s again by next weekend.
A cleanup for dozens is underway after strong winds and a powerful storm ripped through Cape Fear in Table Rock Lake. Officials say a tornado damaged nearly 20 boats at the dock and took down a nearby cell tower. Charmel Odell has the latest.
Ground level winds nearly 70 miles per hour swept through Cape Fear Thursday evening.
We did have some substantial damage here at the Cape Fear boat dock and campground, and then also some of the areas in the area as far as limbs and trees down and so forth.
Officials say so far no injuries have been reported, but there were several water rescues, including the rescue of Kevin Smith's boat. Originally, Smith planned on spending the 4th enjoying the lake with his family and friends, but it wasn't until this morning he got the message those plans were overturned.
We got a notice this morning that Cape Fear was closed because it had damage from a tornado and that one of the docks had flipped over, and we didn't know if our boat was in that dock or not.
My boat was docked right here in A2020, and right here where that dock is right out there right now. And right now my boat is submerged underwater.
Dock A was the only dock to be split from the rest of its remains, damaging at least 20 boats. But not only this, an entire cell tower was also severely damaged, leaving thousands in the area without any cell service.
The top of the tower was actually taken off of the tower, and then the other tower, the next closest one, the optics line was down, so we had very limited communication.
Crews have spent Independence Day recovering the overturned boats. Southern Stone County firefighters used rescue rafts like the one you see here to get people who were stuck out here Wednesday night.
There's a lot of debris in the lake that has to be pulled out, and not just here at Cape Fear, but throughout Table Rock Lake. Probably the most expensive thing, of course, is going to be the boat dock and the cell tower.
Officials say crews are working on both cell towers. Coming up, we'll take you back to Granby for the Mining Town Days. Imagine Dragons have a new album out. Rick Damigella talks with lead singer Dan Reynolds in this Hollywood Minute.
That's Imagine Dragons performing Wake Up.
Every single one of you is coming to my mind. Bring them all together, can you stack them in a line? Jealousy is gonna be if you're not mine.
The song is from their new album, Loom, a set of sounds created differently than the band has in the past.
This was actually done differently than all the previous records. I typically always write 100+ demos on my own before we go in the studio. And then we comb through those and work with a producer to decide what songs, and then we kind of strip them back.
Lock me up in the bed. Turn out the light. I was born, I was raised for this. Turn out the light.
We decided to work with Mattman and Robin, these Swedish producers that we love, that we've worked with a lot of years. And they kind of pitched the idea. We were listening through demos and they thought, well, why not, for once, start from scratch.
Anyway, it's nice to meet you. Anyway, it's nice to meet you.
I was up for it because I love to write. I do it. I mean, there's a reason there's over 100 demos every time. It's just because it's a joy for me. So I was excited by it. And then we just started writing from scratch for a couple months. Probably wrote about 30 songs, something like that. And then we narrowed it down to the 9 that made the record.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
If you run out of gun ammunition in one Alabama town, getting more is about as simple as buying a soda. This vending machine sells ammo, and it's located inside a grocery store. A company called American Rounds operates the machine. It placed in a Fresh Value store. To be fair, it's slightly more complicated than a regular vending machine. Buyers have to let it scan their IDs. Then a facial recognition system powered by artificial intelligence verifies their identity. This machine has been operating since last November. Since then, they've been installed in 3 other states with agreements to go to 7 more. Coming up, President Biden has his first sit-down interview since his debates with Donald Trump. The city of Granby is hosting its 41st annual Old Mining Town celebration. One of the events is a pop-up market which showcases local businesses from across the region. Items for sale include freeze-dried candy, crocheted animals, and tumblers and more. All proceeds from the registration fees that the vendors paid goes to the Grow Granby Foundation.
Well, we've got good weather, see a lot of different people, and hope everybody has a good time.
We are better as a community. We support each other. I've seen tons of vendors walk around and support other vendors, and that makes me happy.
Over 50 vendors registered for the market. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, concerns about President Biden's ability to lead may start to be shared among other countries. In a primetime special, President Joe Biden sat down with ABC News Friday for 22 minutes to discuss his performance at the presidential debate last week. Since then, there have been increasing concerns about his ability to serve a second term. Jen Sullivan looks at what Biden said during his interview with ABC News.
President Joe Biden sitting down for his first TV interview Friday with ABC News following CNN's presidential debate last week.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
Concerns about the president's ability to lead the nation for another 4 years growing after his June 27th debate with former President Donald Trump. At times, Biden struggled to even finish his sentences.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
It was the first time the two squared off on a debate stage during the 2024 election season. Even some Democratic leaders have called for Biden to step aside as the Democratic Party's nominee, and his approval rating dipped following his weak performance.
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
Age has been a contentious issue for some voters. If re-elected, Biden would be 86 when he finishes a second term. The president defending questions about his mental competency.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
California Governor Gavin Newsom was in Doylestown, Pennsylvania today to drum up support for President Biden's re-election campaign. The Democrat held a rally in Doylestown. Pennsylvania is a key swing state that's considered crucial in Biden's efforts to gain the White House for 4 more years. Newsom gave the president enthusiastic support, praising the current administration for moving the country toward energy independence.
It's about daylight and darkness. It's about liberalism versus illiberalism. It is, as the commissioner said, about right and wrong. It's about chaos and competence. That's a decision that is inside of you, not in front of you. The future is not something you experience. You have agency. We can manifest the future. Decisions will determine the fate and future of our democracy. And make no mistake, when I say daylight and darkness, final words, I mean it.
President Biden has a hugely important international conference coming up this next week. NATO ministers will gather in Washington to celebrate the alliance's 75th anniversary, amid growing concerns over his leadership, the war in Ukraine, and how the alliance positions itself for the next 75 years. Fox News Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin has more.
The rise of populist nationalist movements in Europe and increased isolationism here in the U.S. puts NATO at a crossroads, with European allies scrambling to prepare for a possible Trump presidency and the threat the U.S. may stop funding the war in Ukraine or pull out of NATO if other member countries don't increase their defense spending.
I said, you got to pay. And they said, well, what would happen if we don't? Then we won't defend you against Russia.
Right now, 23 of the 32 NATO members are spending 2% or more of their GDP on defense, twice as many as a year ago. When President Harry Truman signed the treaty making the U.S. a founding NATO member 75 years ago, the alliance's goal was to counter the rise of the Soviet Union and protect the hard-fought gains against authoritarian rulers and fascists during World War II. The 3-day summit will have a full agenda. It's a chance for President Biden to demonstrate whether he is capable of stewardship on the world stage. NATO leaders plan to pledge next week to continue funding Ukraine.
We'll take steps to build a bridge to NATO membership for Ukraine.
But Ukraine is unlikely to be offered membership next week, with the U.S. and Germany opposed, while the Ukraine war continues, with no end in sight as Russian troops captured a hilltop in eastern Ukraine near the town of Chasiv Yar, allowing them to control a key road that serves as Ukraine's supply line. NATO leaders are making plans to protect the alliance by establishing a new command in Wiesbaden in Germany to coordinate arms shipments to Ukraine and training, something that's been under the control of a U.S. general until now, a contingency to prevent any one country from controlling NATO's support for Ukraine. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Still ahead, barreling towards the U.S.
After battering parts of the Caribbean and Mexico earlier this week, Tropical Storm Beryl now sets its sights on Texas. I'm Madison Scarpino with more on that story coming up.
Well, it's still 4th of July weekend, and it is shaping up to be a really great weekend. Unfortunately, we do have some storms tomorrow, but that's going to hold off. Taking a look earlier, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, we had a nice shot of the sun right in between the buildings. It looks really great out there earlier today. We also had nice, calm, dry temperatures today as well, dry conditions. We did have a cold front starting to move towards Wichita, Kansas City, but it did retreat before it moved into our area. So we're having a mostly clear night tonight. Temperatures do get down to about 70 for our low, and in some areas upper 60s. So it's going to be cooler than what we've seen the last few weeks. We did have a cold front that moved through on the 4th of July, dropping our temperatures yesterday down to mid 80s. Today we got up to low 90s and upper 80s in some areas, but our low yesterday also got up to mid to lower 60s. So it was a pretty cool night then too. That's going to continue as we see another cold front move in tomorrow, which we're looking forward to because we are starting to see these drought conditions creep back into the southern counties. We've got a moderate drought risk, Joplin, Monette, and just in between those cities as well. The rest of us in those southern counties, more dry, still not what we want to see, but with all of the overly warm temperatures and little to no rainfall that we've seen this summer, it was inevitable to start to dip back into those drought conditions. Now, luckily, we do have some evening showers and thunderstorms moving in tomorrow. That's a cold front, so it's going to drop those temperatures down again. Now, the storms start to move in earlier in the day, earlier in the afternoon. Temperatures are really only going to get up to upper to mid 80s. Now, if the storms hold off until a little bit later in the afternoon, we may reach 90, 91, but it's still not going to be too hot tomorrow. It's going to be overall pretty nice morning. Then we start to see those evening showers and afternoon showers, evening thunderstorms. Winds shift from the southwest, then out coming in from the northeast after the cold front passes. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the future track. We see the cold front retreats, and then we move into early Sunday morning. We could see a few showers creeping into our western counties, Parsons, Yates Center by 10:30, but it may hold off. Then in Joplin, Pittsburgh, about 2:30, that's when we're really going to start to see the heavier rainfall and those thunderstorm chances start to kick back up. Then we move into the evening time. It's really going to be scattered thunderstorms across most of our counties. We're really not looking at a severe threat, but we still will see some scattered widespread showers and thunderstorms throughout the overnight hours on Sunday into early Monday morning. Those will clear out. We've got a pretty low temperature on Monday morning, 61 for our low, and then we have a little bit of a break before more rain showers start to push back in on Monday. So we've got that cold front moving through Sunday night and possibly some more scattered thunderstorms on Monday, dropping temperatures down to 85 Monday, 83 on Tuesday, and then we go to 89 on Wednesday, and then we start to warm up for the weekend, getting into the upper 90s again by next weekend.
Texas officials are urging coastal residents to brace for a potential hit by Tropical Storm Beryl. Fox News correspondent Madison Scarpino has the story.
This is a determined storm that is still strong.
Texans along the coast bracing for Tropical Storm Beryl. Officials warning the storm could regain hurricane strength before making landfall in the area late Sunday into Monday.
We pray and we hope for nothing more than a rain event, but even a rain event may be very heavy.
While Beryl has weakened significantly from its Category 5 status from earlier this week, forecasters warn it still may pack a punch. Damaging winds, heavy rain, and possible flooding is expected. This could all lead to a messy return home for thousands of people enjoying the long holiday weekend along the Gulf.
A lot of people are out having fun right now, and that's a good thing. And we want them to continue to do that, but we also want them to prepare.
Texas officials now urging locals and tourists to consider heading home early. People are also being encouraged to stock up on supplies like fuel, food, and water.
Everyone along the coast should be vigilant, be in place by Monday wherever you're going to be. Monday will not be a good driving day for most counties.
Earlier this week, Beryl made its way through the Caribbean, flattening homes, businesses, and knocking out electrical grids on several islands. The storm is being blamed for at least 11 deaths.
Texas has already issued a preemptive disaster declaration for 40 counties ahead of the storm. In Atlanta, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
Still ahead, the Joplin Outlaws look to snap their 3-game losing streak, and a local high school football player commits to Pittsburgh State. Brock Baldridge has those stories and more up next.
Pittsburgh State football has been busy adding talent to their off-season roster. This weekend, the Gorillas pick up a local commitment out of Carthage High School. Trevor Meadows out of Carthage announced on his social media platforms that he is committed to continue his football and academic career to Pittsburgh State. In his junior season, Meadows was second-team All-COC defensive lineman and was selected to the Class 5 SWMFCA first-team All-Defense.
Since day one, I've started talking to Everett and Nutt, Coach Nutt, and they've shown me love. They always keep a hold of me, call, text me, and it's just a program that wins. I mean, they're competing, wanting to compete for national championships, and I want to be a part of it. The way I see, and with their coaches too, they want a player that's going 110% every play, and even if maybe they're not starting, but they want someone that's going to support no matter what, starting on the bench or on the field.
The Joplin Outlaws have lost 3 straight games heading into Saturday. Joplin looks to even the series after dropping the opening game to first-place Abilene. In Game 2 of the series, Outlaws look to pick up a much-needed victory against the top-seeded team in the Mid-American League standings. So, top of the second, Abilene leads 3-0. Seth Warchin keeps this ball fair as it bounces into the corner down there. That allows 2 runs to score, and Warchin makes it all the way up to third base for an RBI triple. Flying Bison lead 5-0. Later in the inning, Josh Overbeek steps up and hits a deep fly ball to right field. Owen Bond is out there to make the catch, but that will score another run for a sacrifice fly. Abilene led 7-0 the second inning. The rally continues. The bases are loaded. Wild pitch here. Sean Kang takes care of it himself, the catcher, to get out of the inning, tagging out the runner. Outlaws need a big hit, and well, they get it right here, and boy did they ever. Bases loaded in the 4th inning. John Curran steps up and take a good look. You won't see it for long. It's a grand slam to make it a 7-4 ball game. Joplin's right back in it. Outlaws still battling back in this game. At last check, it's Abilene who leads Joplin 11-7 in the 7th inning. In Major League Baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals visit the Washington Nationals. Really tough day on the mound for Lance Lynn as he gives up 9 earned in the first 2 innings of the game. Washington goes on to win big to beat St. Louis 14-6. And the Kansas City Royals look to bounce back after losing last night's series opener, the Colorado Rockies. Not much offense for the Royals in the first 5 frames. At the end of the 5th inning, it's Colorado who leads 3-0. Well, there have been many great catches in Major League Baseball history over the years, but I'm not sure if anything quite tops this one. Joey Loperfido with the Houston Astros makes this catch with his bare hand. Look at that. Check out the replay here. The ball goes into his glove, pops out on the wall there, and somehow manages to keep his focus and makes the play with his bare hand. I mean, that's one of the tougher catches you'll ever see. Maybe not go down in baseball history by the record books, but sure, as far as a regular season catch goes, that's one of the top ones I've ever seen.
Can you imagine if they just didn't use gloves at all?
Well, they did back in the 1800s.
Well, good thing they don't have to do that anymore. Thanks, Brock. We'll be right back. A Virginia woman has rescued a cat that is perfectly imperfect. The woman was going on a vacation when she saw the advertisement for the blind cat. Gabby Womack shares what makes this particular adoption so special.
Being the superintendent of the Virginia School for the Deaf and the Blind, I'm very familiar with working with individuals who are blind, with children who are blind. And I thought, maybe this is a cat I should adopt.
Meet Calico Cat, Rosie.
Her eyes were just shut, so it's not like she's got eyes, they are literally not there.
Pat Trice is the superintendent for VSDB. Rosie had a severe infection in both eyes, which led to eye removal.
She is very, very sensitive to new sounds. So it scared her when she had to walk through the kitchen the first time and the dishwasher was on. She did not know what that was. It's going to take her a while to get used to that.
Even though Rosie can't see, she's still very smart. she uses her hearing to get around.
And her senses are extremely heightened. I mean, sometimes I wonder if she does have eyes that she's hiding, because she will follow sound, she hears everything, she senses where things are.
And for those who have never had a rescue, Trice said it's well worth it.
Rescues do a fabulous job, and so many animals are there that need homes. So please consider, and if they have a disability, there are plenty of people who can help you with that disability, and they make beautiful pets.
Up next, we'll take you back to Granby for the Mining Days Parade. As we take you back to Granby, Missouri earlier today, another old mining town tradition is the parade. Some things on display during the parade included a train that was converted into a float, some antique vehicles, tractors, and a lot more. Local public servants were also invited out to participate in the parade.
It's watching the families come down and partake and have a good time and meet with their friends that they haven't seen for a while. It's bringing our community together is the best part of this event.
The parade was put on by the Granby Fire Department. Well, that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. From all of us here at KOAM, have a great night.